You're listening to the Long Game Podcast with Sandra Scaiano. In a world where everyone is doing, it's easy to get lost in a sea of comparison, secret tricks, and promises of overnight success. The long game is my approach to business. The actual day in and day out philosophy that you have to show up, you have to do the work, and there's no quick fixes for long-term success. I'm a web designer, digital strategist, and energetic thinker, and I'm here to share the process and lessons I experience with my clients daily who are going through the same struggles of building a business as you are. We'll hear from successful entrepreneurs sharing their long game strategies, and I'm fun, so we're going to have a little fun along the way too. Thanks for being here. Let's get to today's episode. Facebook ads, love them or hate them. One thing about them, though, is that they are ever-changing, and there are a lot of myths about using them. I'm joined today by Facebook ads consultant Laura Ball, who is shedding some light on the Facebook ads process and showing us her long game approach.
Hi, we are here today with a superstar entrepreneur who runs her biz and her services with the long game approach. Laura Ball, my guest, is a Facebook ads consultant who works with six-figure entrepreneurs who sell digital products and services to manage their Facebook ads. She launches their online courses. And in addition, Laura offers one-on-one Facebook ad coaching, consulting, and audits. You can learn more about Laura at lauraball.co. All right. Hi, Laura. Welcome. I'm so glad that you're joining me today. We actually met through a Facebook ad consultant coaching program. Facebook ads are a unique beast. They're very specialized and ever changing. So after I had Facebook ads as an offer in my business for over a year, I stopped. And fortunately, there are people like you, Laura, who continued on because, what I really learned through my training with that coaching is that you need to be in the Facebook ads landscape daily. And that's why I stopped. So why don't you tell us a little bit about what it's like being a Facebook ads consultant and how you keep up with the changes?
Yeah, sure. So I started just kind of jumping back into digital marketing, and everything was online and virtual and Facebook and this ad and that ad. And am old school. Like I started when I was working, I was running newspaper advertisements, so when I came back into after staying at home with my kids for a while, I jumped back into work and I thought, oh my God, I have to learn this stuff. And I sort of fell in love with Facebook. I started my business with all the platforms. And then I got my head exploded and I got overwhelmed because I was like, there's no way I can learn every little thing about every platform. And I loved Facebook and I just dove right in. And that's how I kind of niched down into Facebook ads. And I think with Facebook ads, you have to be in it every day. You have to be
Totally.
Running them. And that's how I keep up with all the changes because I'm in it daily. I'm in there every day. I'm seeing new weird messages and reaching out to other Facebook ad managers saying, hey, have you seen this error message? Have you seen this, notification? What's going on? And so I think by being in it and actually doing the ads every day and having a support group of other Facebook ad consultants to kind of run things by, because somebody in Scotland will see something different than what I'll see here in the States. And then 2 weeks later, I'll see it. And I'm like, oh, that's what Liz had said, so
right.
It's just kind of being in there. So that's kind of the day in a life of an ads manager is being inside Ads Manager and running ads and reading blog posts and keeping up with all the other, big Facebook ad gurus and, continuing to learn from them. So yeah, it is a beast. And
Right.
There are some people that just do not want to deal with it. And there are some days, honestly, that I'm like, oh, I don't.
Why did I do this?
What is going on? It's so
Why did I
frustrating.
choose this career?
So frustrating.
You bring up an interesting point, and it's one thing that I say to my clients all the time is you have to work in your business. Like you can't just think your business because that's you don't get the experience, you don't get that know-how from, just thinking about it. You've got to be in it and working with clients. And that's exactly what you said in terms of working with the ads and then being able to adjust to the changes. Yeah,
Right.
that was it for me because I had all this training and then I wanted it because I work with my clients on a mix of things, like a whole holistic approach to things. And so when it came time for Facebook ads, it might be 3 months since I went in there. And then I would be like, oh my gosh, everything's different, or I have to learn it again. And I was just like, it's too much. Like, it's great now that I have that approach and understanding of them as like an overarching strategy,
Hmm.
but I don't want to get in there every day anymore.
Yeah, yeah, it
So
is.
I hear you.
Yeah, definitely frustrating at times. But the best part of it is when you do have a win, and when you do make a client a lot of money, or we list build with really cheap leads and they, convert. Like, when you have those wins, it makes it all worth it for me. That's what I strive for, and that's what keeps me in it. Like, that's what keeps me going back. And I'm like, no, I'm going to take a break this month, and then somebody will come to me and be like, can you run? I'm like, oh, all right.
Well, it's nice too because your projects change, so it's not the same thing every day either. So, working with a client, you might work on something for X amount of months, but then after that launch wraps up and you kind of exhale, you're like, oh, this one's a little different, so you can kind of,
And I
have a new
love that.
attitude.
Yes, I love that. I do not work on evergreen campaigns because
Mhm.
it kind of bores me in the sense that it's just the same thing over and over every month. I love launches. I love the high of the launch. I love the excitement, and I like the stopping point, because then at
Yeah.
that point I can decide, am I going to take a little break for a couple weeks, or am I going to jump right into another launch which might be totally different industry or something different. So, yeah, I love launches.
Yeah, I love that approach in business too. I work very project based as well. So I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna bust it out and get this done and then move on. Like, it keeps it fresh, moving on to something else.
Right, right, exactly.
So Laura recently put up a Facebook post, and I'll link to it in the show notes so you guys can read it verbatim. But she was talking about her work on a launch with one of her clients. And in the post, she dispelled the myth that Facebook ads are the fast action savior for your course launch, number one, and how you really need to start early to build up to your launch. So, we're going to talk about the long game approach to this launch that includes Facebook ads. And one more thing, this launch netted her client 2.3 plus $1 million. And obviously, this is a big thing and it's not for everybody, but it just goes to show how having that plan and that long strategy can really build up. So, we're going to go through her post and break down all of the different points that she made in the post, and we'll talk about that. So, you know Laura tells us about this launch and the approach as a whole team. Like, can you walk us through some of this approach? Like, the first piece was Facebook ads alone won't make you $2.3 million in your online course. And I just want to say thank you for saying this, because so many people think that Facebook ads are the answer to all their sales problems.
No, no, Facebook ads are and that's one thing when I get on a client, a call with a potential new client, and they're like, "Well, I know Facebook ads are going to do it. They're going to do it for me." I'm
I
like,
know, right?
"No, no, they're not. Like, they will help you, yes,
Hmm.
absolutely. But it's just a piece of the puzzle. It's just a piece of the marketing puzzle." And what I strive to like get across to people is Facebook ads will bring you leads into your funnel. They will bring you leads. They won't necessarily, all of them won't be leads that convert. They might convert. They might convert. They might convert 6 months from now. It depends. Like, you have to bring them in, nurture them for the long time, the long term, and then, hopefully they will then convert. So, yeah, it's just a piece of the puzzle.
And you actually just answered your second point there, which was that Facebook ads are a cost effective way to bring in ideal leads, but they're just a piece of the course launch. And this is a huge concept. So let's talk a little bit about what do you need to set yourself up to bring in the ideal leads. So if you are working on a launch, like, what kind of key pieces do you set up, or do you ask your clients to prepare for you so that you can do your job the best to bring those ideal leads in? And that's a really, I just want to highlight the word ideal in here, because you actually put it in capitals in your post, because we want the right audience. We don't, anybody can just get everybody. And if everybody comes, they're not buying. Only your ideal audience is going to purchase from you. So talk to us a little bit about, like, what are some of the key components that you ask for or you set up so that you can get ideal leads?
Yeah. So, as far as when it comes to Facebook ads, there's two, getting the ideal leads in there. Two things. targeting them, making sure your targeting is spot on, and nurturing. So there's two levels. Now, I don't necessarily do all the nurturing. I do part of it because I might run an ad, get them in, and then nurture them with another ad. I might do
Mhm.
that. But the client is also going to be doing that as well. They're going to be getting them in the funnel and nurturing them on the back end. Targeting is super important. And I love targeting. I love trying
Mhm.
to get into the head of my client's ideal client. So I literally ask them a whole series of questions, not just where are they hanging out online, but where are they finding information? So my last
So
client
good.
was an online course creator. So where are they finding that information that they need to learn to run to their, to do whatever they want to do? He's an artist. And so they would like certain pages, like if I was working with like detailed targeting. So there's a couple of different targeting. So there's warm, there's cold, there's lookalike audiences. Depending on the client, I kind of take a step back and I say, so if this client comes to me and they don't have an email list or they have like a couple of hundred people and they're really not sure, how we're going to find these people. I can't really create a lookalike audience, which is an audience of people who have similar attributes to people on their email list and things like that. So I tend to start there. And that's
Mhm.
where I started with this client because he did have an email list. His email list it was big, but not like crazy hundreds of
But
thousands.
you need like 1,000 people to kind of
You need about
find that sweet spot, correct?
you can start with like 100. The point is like the more you have, the better. So I
Right.
would always tell people, even if your email list size is 200, try it,
Right.
create a lookalike audience and try it and see how it works. So start there. But if you're working with detailed targeting, like the interests, like yoga and this and that, you want to get a little bit specific and you want to, because there's going to be some layering in there. So a lot of people might like yoga or, fitness. So fitness is a really broad interest. You want to kind of narrow down. It could mean yoga, it could mean weightlifting, it could mean CrossFit, it could mean marathons. So if you're looking for runners, you want to kind of layer that in and make sure you're really targeting the right people because if you're targeting so broad, the ad is going to run to like everybody who is interested in fitness. So there's a lot of people who are interested in fitness, but might not be runners or they might not be weightlifters if those are the
Right.
people you're looking for or yoga people. So you really want to get very detailed. So I try to avoid the generic interest and I try to focus on pages.
Mhm.
Gold's Gym
Right,
or
Orange Theory, like,
right,
that's such a
exactly.
lifestyle brand. I always try and tell my clients, like, think of the lifestyle brands. I had a, photographer friend who she shot family photos, and I was like, "Well, the cost of your photo shoots, you need to be going after the $2,000 stroller pages." You know what
Right,
I mean? Like, think about what other lifestyle products or what other products your audience uses to find you as
right,
well, you know?
right. And there's so many ways to kind of find new interests. What I did was I like my client's Facebook page. And when I do that, it gives me other suggestions of other
Mm,
pages to follow.
so
So
smart.
I look at those and I say, okay, let me go into Facebook and see if they're targetable. Now, sometimes they're not going to be targetable, but I spend probably majority of my time doing research, especially if it's a new client on targeting. Another way is I'll go to his Facebook page or her Facebook page and I'll look at the pages that they follow. So my client follows this page, this page, this page, this page. Oh, okay, awesome. Are those targetable? Because if my client is following them, it's likely that his students are following those pages as
Mhm.
well. I go into audience insights and I type in an interest. So let's say like Marie Forleo, everybody knows Marie Forleo. You put Marie Forleo in there and you look at the likes, see what other ones. It's going to spark other things. You're going to be like, oh, maybe they like Gabby Bernstein or, Danielle Laporte, or it's going to give you other ideas. And you just have to keep drilling down, drilling down, drilling down. And that's all I do. I'm like, the biggest audience that I targeted during this launch that did so well, and I didn't try it at the last launch. I just kind of thought about it this launch was YouTube. I mean,
Ah, that's
what a
massive.
right? What a great
Like, I
what
would
a
never
great
even think that because I would think that is way too big.
Right? So what I did was, because it was way too big, but what I did was I layered it in with they must like YouTube and they must like the interest of, I think it was like artists or painters or
Mhm.
painting. Now, that's one thing you have to also be careful about is painter. So a painter could be the guy that paints your house, but
Mhm.
he's probably not an artist. So I had to be very careful on who I was targeting. This is a great example. I had to be really careful because I didn't want to find contractors. They're
Right,
not
right.
they're not wanting to learn how to create artwork and, beautiful masterpieces and sell their art. They're just looking for houses to paint. So I had to be very careful and very specific. So when you are looking at that interest targeting, really try to get an understanding. Go to the page. So if it says Marie Forleo, maybe you don't know who Marie Forleo is, but you think it's kind of aligned with your business, go to the page and make sure, like, oh yeah, she's talking to my people. Yes, she is.
Mhm.
So definitely do your homework on targeting. The second part is nurturing, is getting your client to really continue nurturing their leads. Because we had such a long stretch and we started this launch 3 months out, you can't just get them in and be like, all right, they're on the list and now I'm going to hit them up with the sales ad.
Yeah,
No,
exactly.
not happening. You have to build that relationship with them. It's like dating. Like if you go out
Mhm.
on a date with someone and you're like, hey, you want to get married?
Right.
They're like, whoa, that's too
Total
soon.
disconnect. Right, right.
Total too soon. So you have to continue that relationship with them while they're on your list, but before the
And
sale.
that relationship can come in various forms. So like you were saying, some of those you execute by doing another targeted ad to them. Once you know they've looked at something or watched a video, you can target another ad. But that relationship can be built through email marketing. It can be
Yep.
built through social posts. Like there's
Mhm.
all these other ways to build it, or even freebie opt-ins and then follow up.
Or face
So
if you have a pop-up Facebook group, get them. That's what we
mhm.
did. We invited them into the Facebook group, and that's where he was giving more and more free value, and he was showing up, and he was on Facebook Lives, and he was doing free trainings, and they fell in love with him. We also had a messenger bot, so we had a ManyChat expert who was in there, reaching out to them through Messenger. Hey, don't forget to watch. He's going live, and you want to be sure to. So there were so many ways of reaching that one lead. We were constantly trying to get them, and sometimes it's a little too much, for these people, but you're not going to get them by just the ad. Like you're not going to sell to
Right.
them with just the ad. They have to see it like 7 times. I think that's
Totally.
like
And not everybody sees everything
right,
either. Like,
right,
not even though I mean, think about it. When you're going out, even if it's 100,000, 500,000, like, not everyone sees every ad
right,
in,
right.
in their timeline.
Right, right, exactly. That's why ads are essential because they might open rates for email are what, like 20, 30%. So you're not hitting everyone there. But if they see an ad, they're like, oh, yeah, I remember that. I remember seeing that email from him. I need to sign up for that.
Right.
So,
Or that looks interesting. Right.
yeah, so many
Yeah.
different touch points.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I love the targeting piece. That was always the piece that jazzed me about Facebook ads, in terms of you can really figure out how to reach your audience in a way that, I mean, you come from the newspaper background. Like, you're just putting it out there and hopefully people are reading it. Like,
That's
it's such a crapshoot. But here you can say, I want the woman who is doing X, Y, and Z and
right.
has these particular likes. Like, I love that piece of really drilling down.
Yep.
And you touched on, another piece of what we're going to talk about next. So, well, actually, let me back up a second, because you were talking about 3 months advance, and you know that your client's team even started sooner. And some of those things may have been building out those funnel pieces of the email sequences. And, the one thing I want to say about this whole launch piece, like, even though you came in with ads 3 months ahead of time, like, this requires so much thought. Like, people need to plan, like, what is going to happen after someone clicks on an ad. There's a part that you do, and then a big part that the team does. So you really need to plan that out, have things laid out so they're not last minute. Think about every scenario. I mean, I worked with, I did a webinar piece with someone where it's like, well, what if they watched? What if they didn't watch? What if they watched the replay? You think of every single scenario. And then we had an email funnel going to each of that. We had like 6 funnels going out based on what their actions were. So these things really do take time. And then, there is some of that organic traffic and things like that, but these are part of the system of everything.
Right, right.
So let's talk also about the communications and like that connection. So I love that you made a point. Your comment was you need constant communication and relationship building with the leads throughout the entire launch. They aren't going to buy from someone that they don't have a connection with.
Right.
So I loved this comment because the number one thing I see with clients is, they're just going to blast some ads out that are about sales versus relationship building. And this is why I love starting early because, my approach to it has always been cold, warm, hot. You need to lead the people through each spot that they're in and speak to them in the process, in the step that they're in. So you're not going to sell to somebody if they're in the cold. You sell when they're in the hot. They know you already. They have a relationship with you. I want to talk about also having various ads for each step of the process. So you can have a different conversation with someone. And it's like you said, you're going to have versus someone just meeting you versus someone getting ready to marry you or buy from you.
Right.
So
Right.
let's
Yeah.
talk about like those different ads as well.
Yeah. So when we started, what we did was he segments his list based on challenges that his clients face. And so we showed video ads of him, just no pitch, just hi, this is, hi, my name is, and this is what I do, and this is what I'm going to show you today because I know that this is your challenge. And so we ran video ads to cold traffic, people who did not. We excluded anybody on his list, anybody who liked his page, any buyers, anything like that. So it was as much of a cold audience as we can get because we know Facebook's not perfect, but as much as we can get, cold audience, and we just captured the people who were watching certain percentages of that video. So I built for every, he had 5 different video ads. And so I would capture an audience of, through plays, which is 15 seconds. Then I would do 25%, then 50%, then 95%. And I would build those audiences. And then we did that for about a month. Then when we were ready to turn on some ads that went into the second phase of this launch, which was join the wait list. We have this great training coming up. It's not ready yet, but if you're interested, join the wait list. And so we retargeted those people that watched, whatever percentage of that. And we spoke to them. We said, hey, we know you're interested in this challenge. And so we're doing a training coming up in February. Why don't you join the wait list? So we spoke to them in that way.
And the training was a webinar or some sort of free training?
It was a PLF style
Okay.
four video series. Yeah,
Okay,
so 4
perfect.
videos. And then we were kind of just, there was no pitch. And I told my client there's a lot of, because we were running this so far in advance, we weren't going to be able to tell 100% if those if those people who watched ended up buying because it's outside that 28-day window that Facebook has and everything like that. But it did create engagement and created, people signing up for the wait list. And then the third phase of this was, okay, the workshop is starting soon. Sign up for the workshop. So what we did was we then excluded anybody who already signed up for the wait list because they were already on that launch funnel. And we're still, and in the process, I'm building campaign after campaign after campaign with different and new audiences. That's why targeting is so important. I had a very large budget with this client. This is not the norm. Nobody's going to
I was going to bring that up is that once you're
not
targeting to these, you just said I had 5 videos running to different audiences. Those are 5 separate campaigns that you have to pay for.
Yes, exactly. And, as far as costs, like video views is pretty inexpensive. I think I tested both video views and page post engagement, and page post engagement did better because not only are you capturing the video views, you're also getting engagement on those ads. So other people are saying, oh, this is great. Oh my God. Oh, and they're tagging this one and that one. So kind of a double whammy. That third phase was sign up for the workshop. And then again, we're speaking to those new people. And then as they're in the back end, the important part is really encouraging your clients to make sure they're doing their work on the back end. On the back end, this client and his team were inviting them into the Facebook group. They had a series of emails. If they signed up in December, they were getting emails once a week, if not more, of free value, like just constant communication. Hey, I have this free thing, because the workshop wasn't until February. So I said to him, you have to really hit it hard, because you can't get them in and then just kind of forget about it.
Yeah.
So that's one thing you have to do with, you have to kind of, educate the client to
Yeah.
do that, because they think,
And
oh,
nurture them. That
yeah,
is the whole nurture piece, so that
right,
they don't forget who you are. I mean, how many things have we signed up for? I clicked on something. You know, if it doesn't keep coming back, even with shoe ads, I click on it and then they keep showing me ads and I'm like, "Oh, maybe I really will check them out. I really do like them." Like
right,
they convince me by not stopping showing me the same shoes, you
right,
know?
right,
Like
exactly.
that frequency convinces me that I like that product even
Yep.
more.
Yep. Yep. So yeah, it was really, it's that is super, super important. So having that long runway to really
Mhm.
start, and also it allowed me to test those audiences, to see which audiences were getting me the best cost per leads, and test new ones, because when you have a short window, let's say, most launches, are like between 7 and 10 days. There's a webinar at day 10, and so an ads manager has like 7 to 10 days to find that audience. I had, over, almost 3 months. When you have a tight time frame, you kind of have to start at a higher budget, because you want to get that data back quick. You want to see what's working and what's not, and then start turning off the ones that are not working and scaling the ones that are. This was a like almost perfect launch for me, because I had so much time, and this was the second launch I did with him. This was his fifth launch, though. So this is the fifth time he launched it, and every launch got better and better, and
Right.
he learned more and more and more. If your people, your clients and your audience are just starting out, you need to consider doing Facebook ads for data only, because you will
Thank
learn.
you. That was
you
my next. I literally have that in my notes to say, do Facebook ads before you need them.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Because you are building an audience. Like, go on, please
Yes,
tell us.
yes.
Yeah.
You're learning so much, and I never say there's a failed launch. I mean, yeah, you might not have made an ROI. You might not have even broken even. Maybe you were a little under, but you have data. You have data inside your ads manager that's telling you who's clicking on your ad, what level they're getting to, did they opt in, who's not opting in, who's watching the videos, what's your click through rate like. Okay, so your click through rate's low, you got to work on your ad copy. So it's telling you so much that you use that to then do your next launch. You just never give up. You're like, okay, this is the data I have. I'm going to interpret it. I'm going to learn from it. I'm going to go on to the next launch. And I get it. A lot of people don't have the budget to do that. It's
Hmm.
it's scary, but if you educate yourself enough on how Facebook ads work, you could do them yourself. There's pros and cons, and I might be jumping, but you could do them yourself. You could hire a coach, which is kind of like somebody to kind of like reach out to, like, hey, what do I do here? What do I do there? Or
Right. Right.
or you can outsource it. I always say, no, regardless, even if you're like, no, I'm never going to do it, learn the basics, because that will help you hire the right ads manager, and you'll know what to look for. You'll know what questions to ask, because right now, they might not be in a financial position to hire an ads manager, but there are other ways to get that help. Facebook groups, if you join a course, you're going to probably get a Facebook group where you can reach out to people and ask questions, or hire a coach where it's just kind of like a 1 hour thing. You can jump on a call with me or any other Facebook ads manager if you have questions and things like that. But do it now. Get the pixel on your
Oh,
website
100%. So
right
let's just tell
now.
everybody, right? If you don't know what the pixel is, it's a little bit of code provided by Facebook. It's in your Facebook account. You put it on your website and it's a tracking code. So it starts to track everyone who lands on your website. You can go up to 6 months, 180 days with it. And then when you're ready to run ads, you can create an audience of people who have visited my website in the past 30 days. It's automatically there for you. And it's something that I actually put on all of the client sites I work on. I'm like, let it just sit in the background, even if you don't think you're going to need it, because by the time you need it, you've got all this data
Yes.
accumulated that you
Yes.
can use. So
Yes.
I
That is
encourage
like,
that. And that's
yes.
an easy one.
Yes. Absolutely.
And it's interesting too, because one of the other points I wanted to bring up was, and you touched on it a bit, was about testing. Like that whole, you know, you need to have that budget. You have to build in a budget to test, not just to run your ads and get conversions. You need to test out the audiences. So when you're thinking about doing ads, even for yourself, you have to put a portion of money to the side to say, this is going to be my play with money. I'm going to figure it out. I might not get my ROI. I might be higher on certain things. Like I'm okay letting that go because that's my data collection.
Yes.
Like that has to be a part, even if you're not dealing with large budgets like you're taking $300, $500 to say, I am going to test with this and figure out who my audience is. So when it comes time, I'm being more targeted.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. It will, you will benefit in the long run. It's all about it's all about the journey. Like you will definitely benefit because you're going to be learning so much from invest. It's an investment. It's an
Yep,
investment.
completely.
It's like anything else. Look, when we ran newspaper ads, I didn't get a call from a client saying, "Hey, I didn't get any leads from that newspaper ad." Well, of course not. Like, because marketing is just kind of like, sometimes marketing is like throw spaghetti at the wall. The beauty about Facebook ads is that you can really get targeting and make sure you're showing it to your most ideal client. You're not showing it to everyone.
Yep.
You're showing it to the 30-year-old woman who lives in California who likes yoga and has a golden retriever. I mean, like literally, you could get that detailed. So you have to kind of, you have to start somewhere. It's scary, yes, but if you have a plan and a strategy in place and you understand a little bit about Facebook ads, you're in a good starting point, and you just use that data to collect. And if any of your audience ever have any questions on, they can reach out to you, I'm sure, or me.
No, we're going to put all your information in as well.
Yeah, I love like helping people with troubleshooting and what to do next. Well,
right.
What do I do next? That's why it's important to have a basic understanding about Facebook ads.
Well, you touched right there on the last 2 points that you made in the Facebook post. You need practice. This is my client's 5th launch, so don't expect to make this on your first. They get better and better each time, so don't give up. And oh my gosh, if we could just make that on our first launch, this would be amazing. But so unrealistic. That's all good. But obviously your client has a following, and most of my audience is in the list building mode. So like, can we talk a little bit about some of the things we can do with Facebook ads for list building so the audience is there? Like, I know we've talked a lot about, the process of cold to warm to hot, but like, what are some effective list building things? And one of the questions I have from my audience is, how often should I change my freebie? So like, they already know that like maybe you're running an ad to a freebie, but how long do you keep that? If you want to just give us a little insight.
Yeah, so if you're working with a cold audience and you're just starting to list build, you want to make sure that first of all, you want to make sure your targeting is pretty spot on. Know your ideal client. Know how old they are. Are they male or female? Drill down to make sure your targeting is spot on. But you also need to know, what does that ideal client need from me that's a quick win? You need something that
so list building is quick wins.
Quick win, just a quick win. So my list building is a starter kit. The 3 things you need to do before you run Facebook ads.
Awesome.
For anybody
we'll link to that, by the way.
Yeah,
on my show notes.
If anybody's going to be starting for, Facebook ads, they want to know, what are the 3 things those are the 3 things. Put your pixel on your website. So these are 3 basics. So you want to give your clients a quick win, something that's going to, something that they struggle with, but not the farm. You don't want to give away the farm, because you want to what you want to do is get them one step closer to building that relationship with you. So they, whatever their struggle is. For my client, it was their biggest art challenge. So we gave them a PDF on, one of the specific challenges they had and how to overcome it. It needs to be short and sweet, something very easy for them to consume and for them to implement. So not a, 20-page file of legal documents or something like that. It has to be short and sweet. Now, as far as when to change your list building ad, when it stops working, that's really it. If you're getting leads and you're consistently getting leads, don't change anything. Don't fix what's not broken. Like I
Okay.
always tell
Nice.
people, I'm like, don't touch it. Like, don't touch it. You're getting $2 leads. Don't touch it.
And we've all seen it. We've seen our own work 1,000 times. So
Right,
it's easy for us to say to ourselves, "Ugh, I'm over that."
right.
But the rest of the world hasn't.
Right. Try so if you're getting antsy with like, oh, I don't know, if you're getting consistent leads, if you're getting leads at a reasonable cost per lead, and that's a loaded question.
Variable. Yeah.
That's very it varies. Play with audiences. Try a new audience with the same with the same lead magnet. See what's going. Don't create more work for yourself if it's
Mhm.
working. If you see it's not working, if your cost per leads are high, if your click through rate is low, look at the data and determine what's wrong. Is it the lead magnet? Is it the ad? It might just be the ad. It might be the
Yeah.
audience. So you have to kind of do some troubleshooting. But if you are getting cost, don't touch it. Don't touch it. Let it run.
And just another piece to that is it doesn't matter if you're in launch mode or not. If you still need to nurture these people. So as you're building this list building audience or this campaign, you still need to have the follow up for them, and that's an important piece to have people thinking about how are you going to nurture them so that they're ready to hear from you when the time comes. I mean, we've all had. I'm sure you've gotten these emails where it's like, well, I haven't written you in a long time.
Yeah, yeah,
Like people
yeah,
say they've just dropped off and then all of a sudden they're starting to get back into it and sell you something.
yeah.
So, the idea is to have have that forethought of your funnel and have that list building, that nurturing in place so that once you get the people in and they get your freebie, then there needs to be an email like, how'd it work for you? Did you try out those tips? Hey, it's been 2 days. Did you put your Facebook ad pixel on there? Like you can even be a little snarky, like ask them a pointed question like that. And you know, get them to engage and act. So that's
Right.
a really important piece afterwards. So
Yes. In an ideal world, I would love to see people running ads all year long. Like I know budget is always a concern, but even if you're spending, I did a couple of launches for a client and she was like, you know what, I need to redo my whole course. I'm not going to run any ads, but I'm going to leave my list building ad on. I'm like, thank you. She was getting like
mhm.
80-cent leads. And I'm like, it was like $10 a day.
Oh my gosh.
Don't turn it off. Don't turn it off. And she's just in the background, it's running. I would love to see some, most people continue list building throughout the year, but I know, budget is a
Right, and
concern.
that's your last point too, which gosh, you're just like amazingly flowing into point to point, Laura. You need to be willing to spend money. Sure, it's scary and risky, but find the right people for your team and trust them. And that's not only during a launch. If you could either do it yourself and the investment is the actual Facebook ads. This is a statement across the board for me. Like I advocate for people to invest in their businesses by hiring experts. There's expertise and guidance and there are certain things like I'm going to go out on a limb and say like most of the people who I've hired as experts end up coaching in some sort of level of strategy or coaching that comes along with it. It's just natural because you hire out an expert for their knowledge and guidance, and they think of the questions that you didn't think of because you didn't know. And there's like a level of education and strategy that you
Mm.
get from working with someone, even if it's just for 3 months. I mean, you work with a Facebook ads consultant, and even the questions that you as a consultant ask for your client to provide for you is like, oh, and then the insights into the reporting is another light bulb moment. Oh, I start to see how all this is working. So even hiring an expert to do for you is an education for you
Yeah,
because that you have that relationship
right.
to learn from them and take their strategy and advisement.
Yeah, and that's the key is having an ads consultant or coach or someone who wants to be a partner with you. I am very picky about who I take on as clients because I don't like to have I'm not a big agency, it's just me and I like it that way. I love giving I mean I had this one client for 3 months for his launch. He was my only client because if he needs me to get on a call at 8 o'clock at night, I'm going to get on a call at 8 o'clock at night. And
Right.
I like that. You want to find somebody that you can trust that is willing to be a partner in your business, that cares as much about your business as their own. And there are people that are shady. And so you have to really be careful because you're giving them, you're giving them your money and you're
Yes.
saying, hey, here, kind of gamble with my money. So you need to have that trust. If you don't, I highly consider either taking a course yourself, but also getting a coach or somebody who knows what they're doing so that you can say, okay, here's my ad. Can you look at it before I turn this on? Can you make sure I set this up right? I'm telling you, it will be worth every penny because you will lose money if you do it yourself and you do it wrong. So
Well, that's how we learned in our coaching program
right.
was our coach would say, here's behind the scenes. Let's share the
Yep.
reporting. What should we do next? Like
Right.
that was how we learned. And I also think that, you as an expert, like you're behind the scenes with so many different ad campaigns, and you also are in your ad campaign network,
Mhm.
your network of other consultants that you are able to bring things to the experience from that,
Right.
like you've seen things.
Right.
And the other point I want to make about that is when you work with an expert, it frees you up to do all those other things.
Right.
So, who's going to write those follow up nurture sequences? You have to, because
Right.
you're not taking care of the ads or worrying about, looking at the stats and all of that.
Right.
And that's like a big point for me with my clients because like I do a lot of Kajabi setups and I will say to them, I've got all of this. Now you have to go and list build market because once this platform is ready and your course opens, like you need people to buy it. Like don't even look over here.
Right.
Like that's the
Right.
whole point is I take this off. And I think, I take this off your plate and the worry of that. And because there's, as we spoke about this whole call, there's multiple points that come in that nurture sequence. You're not doing organic native posts. You're
Mhm.
only doing ads. So somebody still has to do social media. Somebody has to do email marketing. There's all of these other pieces that still need to get done. And having that extra team member
Right. Right.
frees you up for that.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. It's so true. So true.
So that was awesome. That post, I encourage all of you to look at it. There's some stats at the bottom where you're getting something like $2 lead, like click throughs, which is, those rates depend on competitive, like how
Okay.
competitive the markets are in terms of who you're going after.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. And it's also, everybody, I get a lot of people who say, okay, so how much do I need to spend? I'm like, how much have your cost per leads been, before? They're like, well, I've never run ads before. Well, then I cannot tell you that because I
right,
don't know what your cost per leads are going to be. If you're in an industry, I know certain industries, but I don't know them all. But I can tell you if you're in a very competitive industry like the Amy Porterfield, Marie Forleo, the whole, it's going to vary and it's probably going to skew on the high side.
yep,
If you're in a more niche audience, like an artist or a pet, I have another client who's a pet photographer. You're going to get cheaper leads because there's not as much competition. So when I have someone like that, I'm like, we have to run the ads so that I can get data back and say, okay, your leads are freaking high. So we need to test this and test that and try this and try that. So it's a process. So you have to be willing to kind of accept that. And if you're not, that's okay too. I get it. If it's not, it's okay. Use me as a consultant. Find someone, find a buddy, accountability partner, kind of help you. Like, hey, can you look at this for me? Do it with someone so that you're not alone. But yes, you definitely lead costs will vary, and you're just not going to know what they are until you run your ads. So
right, which is the importance of that testing phase and that data collection phase so that you can, because that's probably the number one question you get. How
right.
much money do I
Oh,
have to put in this?
absolutely.
Like
And when
yeah.
Right, and when somebody comes to me and says, "Okay, I'm launching next month," I'm like, "Okay, so have you?" No, 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 no. Like you're too
Pass.
late. You're too late. You're too late, and
Yeah.
it puts pressure on them. It puts pressure on the
Mhm.
ads manager, and so I'm very clear when it comes to someone. I'm like, either I will not take them, or I set very, very hard expectations. Like I don't know. Like they're like, "Well, will we get $2 leads?" I'm like, "I'll work my butt off to try to do that for you, but I cannot tell you that for sure. And if you
Right.
get an ads manager that is telling you, oh, I'll get you dollar leads, you better run really far, because that is not a solid ads manager, because no good ads manager is going to tell you what you're going to get, because they don't know. They don't
And
know
it
unless they
changes.
have data. And it changes.
Every day. So you can't
Yeah.
even, like, and it also changes with the season. Like, if Marie Forleo is launching B School at the time, your ad rate, she's going after the same people you are. So that is going to
Yep.
cost you so much more than
Yep.
if you do it in November when she isn't launching.
Right.
So those
Right.
are all pieces.
Yep.
Just for some people who maybe haven't done or haven't worked with a Facebook ads consultant, can you tell us a little bit about the process of how it is working with you?
Yeah.
Like, what do you handle and what do you expect your clients to give you? Like, do they have to give you imagery and copy? Do you create ads? Like, how does that work so that they would come
Yeah.
prepared?
Yeah. I typically do not do ad copy or images. I can do images. So typically, because I am not a copywriter and I am
Yeah.
not,
And people
I,
don't know how much that is like so important. Like, it's
right,
so important. They're like,
right.
just put something up there.
Right, right. It really has to speak to to their
Mhm.
audience.
Completely.
So generally, I'll get on a discovery call with someone, and I'll kind of see where they're at. If I feel that they're a good fit for me and for them, because if there's a client that comes to me that I don't think is ready for ads, I will tell them no, thank you, because I just will never take someone's money and run ads for them if I don't think that they're 100% in it and ready for ads, because they might not be at that point. They might oh, I have no list, but I'm launching next week. No, you're not ready for ads. Don't pay for that yet. And then I typically will send them a questionnaire that kind of goes through their ideal client. And so that helps me with the targeting piece.
Right.
I work on a retainer basis, so I try to charge like a flat fee for a launch. And then I do as many ads as possible to get the results, or to help them get the results that they need. So I don't some ad managers kind of say, oh, for $300, I'll do one campaign I do the launch from start to finish. So typically I will ask the client for images, like headshots, images that are already done by a designer. If they're in a tight position and I can do images. I like doing that. So I am okay with doing that, but ad copy, I kind of draw the line, because it's a little bit hard. It's a little bit harder, unless it's a client that I've worked with for years, which I have,
Right. And you really know their brand.
and
You
I
have to
know their
really
brand.
know the brand
Yeah,
voice.
I
And
know
that's one
how
thing
they
we
speak.
talk about a lot. Like,
Yes, you have to know their voice, and would they say that. Now, having said that, I work with my clients like I am part of their business, and we go back and forth. I'm like, okay, here's a draft. If I did write ad copy, here's a draft. Does this sound like you? Is this something you
mhm.
would say? And then I look at it from a perspective of the Facebook ads. Is this something that's going to convert? Am I talking about certain things like pain points and how this freebie is going to, transform them? So I kind of look at it with a different eye, but I want to make
That's
sure it's
great.
in my client's voice. So,
See, that's that strategy piece that you get when you bring an expert in.
yes, yes. So yeah, and then I literally work with my client throughout the launch on, probably a day-to-day basis, pretty much letting them know, okay, I need this and I need it on this date. I prompt my clients. I give them a list, because I'm very organized, and I'm a planner, and I like to do as much as I can in advance, so I'm not scrambling at the last minute. So I'm like, this is what I need, this is when I need it, this is what I'm doing, and every day you're literally going to hear from me, and I'm going to tell you, okay, I turn the ads on. Okay, day 2, these are the cost per leads. This is how much we spent, and this is what we're getting. This is what sucks, and this is what I'm going to do to try to fix it. Or this is what's going great, and I'm going to scale it. So I'm constant communication with my client. I never just kind of like take their money and run.
Right.
I want them to know I am there with them. This is what I'm doing. And so yeah, that's
And
so
do
it's
you
hard.
explain the reports to them?
Yeah, so sometimes I'll do it a couple of different ways. Like generally in a launch, I'll do every couple of days, I will give them a snapshot email of, this is how
Oh,
much we
cool.
spent. These are the costs per leads. This is what's converting. This is what's not. At the end of the launch, I'll either make them a report, like just a Word document of everything. Like, this was the best ad. You got the most traffic on Facebook as opposed to Instagram, and blah, blah, blah.
Right. That's
And
awesome.
I will sometimes I'll make a video explaining it. Like, I'll go through my report and say, this is what I did, this is what we did, this is how it worked. Next time, let's do this. And then at the end of any
Hmm.
report, I'll say, these are my, these are the key takeaways, and this is what worked and this is what didn't, and this is what I think we should do next time for the launch. And so I kind of break it down that way. For this client that I have this big launch, we're going to have like a debrief because his
Right.
whole team will be on the launch, and we work together as a team, and we say, okay, I need new ad copy for X, Y, and Z because I think that's just going to enhance the launch next time. And I'll kind of work with the copywriter on that. So, and if you don't have a copywriter, then I just work with the client on that. Okay, this ad copy didn't work, or it could be better. Let's try to tweak it. And sometimes we'll do that mid-launch. I'll be like, "Ooh, the click-through rates are low," or the landing page conversion rate is low. So let's make this change mid-launch, and I'll work with them on that.
There's a lot of responsiveness to what you do because
Yes.
you're keeping track along the way. It's
Yeah.
not set it and forget it. It's
Right. Exactly. That's why it is helpful to have like somebody like, if they have a VA or if they have somebody that I can kind of funnel, information through, or if they just give me, ability to make those changes as I see fit. Some clients do that. They're like, oh, if you see the landing page isn't converting, let me know what changes I need to make and I'll make them. Or here's the login. Can you quick make it? Because I can I do have the ability to kind of like I'm familiar with Lead Pages and Kajabi and stuff like that. So I can quickly make little changes. Anything major, I'm gonna put it back on the client. But it's a back and forth throughout the whole launch. So yeah.
awesome. Lastly, would you tell us something about your own business, how you've set up your own business for the long game? Is it systems you've put in, training that you've taken, ongoing learning? Like, what is the long game tactic that you personally use in your own business?
Yeah, for me it is working with a coach and having a
Nice.
Facebook ads coach, because Facebook ads change so much, and I need to stay on top of things, and I want to know the next level strategy. I don't want the basic like this is what you do to get a lead. I want the next level strategy. That's what I did. It was when I first started my online business. I took B school and I took Amy Porterfield's course and I did all that, and I was like, you know what? I'm done with that part. I get that. I need something a little bit more in depth, and I need that one-on-one coaching, like somebody who's going to kick my butt and say, Laura, you need to do this. I work well with people like that. They give me that tough love because I want to hear it and I need it and it pushes me. So working with a coach on a one-on-one basis has been super, super important for my business. And it has given me so many new opportunities and, referrals and everything. So
Right.
it's a win-win. So
Awesome. And again, that's an investment in your business. Going back to our other piece, like you need to invest in yourself and take that to the next level. So
Yep.
I am a big proponent of coaching as well, and
Yep.
I invest in that. And I've actually had clients who said to me, if you didn't have a coach, I wouldn't have chosen you. You know what I mean? Like I have some larger projects and they're like, I don't want somebody who thinks they know, like I want somebody who's being coached too. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Like they're not the end all.
Oh my God, I don't know everything. No way.
Right.
No way. And I want to learn from the best. I want to learn from
Right.
somebody who's better than me.
Find that person who's ahead of you
Yes.
in your area. That's my best advice when people say, how do you find that coach? You find that person who's where you want to be in 5 years.
Right.
And you follow them, you join their program, that
Yep.
type of thing.
Yep.
I want to talk about how to respond to current events in your business. So, like at the time of this recording, we are in the coronavirus social distancing and lockdowns of our communities. So, how does this type of current event affect your approach to work? Like, are you finding people are pulling back from launching? Are they tweaking their messaging to be more of service versus scarcity? Like, I'm curious how you in the ads and promotion area plan on navigating, a current event like this.
The first thing you have to be mindful and you have to be sensitive. So, if you're offering like, eyelash extensions or, something that's more of like a luxury and something that, because we have to understand and we have to be compassionate that not everybody is dealing with this situation the same way. We have
Right.
people who are living in hospitals because they're taking care of people. So I think we have to be very mindful of the language that we use in the ad copy and the product that we sell. So think about what you sell. Think about look absolutely if you're running ads, look at your ad copy. Does it sound
Right.
sensitive.
You can't be tone deaf to what is happening.
No,
Right.
no, not at all. Look at the comments. Make sure you're looking at the comments, because I saw an ad and somebody put timing and like with a question mark. Like,
Right.
seriously, like,
Let me point it out to you.
right. So be very conscious of that. Provide value, give service. List building ads are probably the one ad that you could be running right now because it's just free value. And call it out. These are challenging times in your business. I have, not, you wouldn't word it this way, but essentially like, here's this free guide to help you, during this time. If I can be of any service, please reach, like, be genuine. Do not be salesy in any way. There are people who are launching because I think that also helps the economy too. So
Right,
I'm
right.
not saying
And you may have been had that momentum going. You
right,
may have been in month 2 of your 3-month
right.
process.
Exactly. So yeah, don't stop, but be conscious, be sensitive. And, if you need to change the image of an ad because maybe it's a
Mhm.
little tone deaf, like, 5 things to know, in a crisis, or, whatever the PDF is, whatever the guide is, just but be sensitive because it is very hard. And think
That's
about
great. Great
your
advice.
yeah, think about your business. Somebody's probably not going to go on a cruise anytime soon.
Right.
I mean,
Right. Totally.
so
And I also think that you could, as a service and as a business person, you need to double check your work because you're switching things so quickly. Like I signed up for someone's freebie and never got it
mhm,
because it never delivered to me. And it just made me be like, oh, wait, let me refresh. Where's the thing? Like, and then I was like, okay, I'm just not getting it. It's been a day now, like, and so it's those just taking that extra step to double check. Like I was waiting for the freebie, like,
right,
and I'm,
right.
like, where's my freebie? And I wanted to engage with that person. So, and it's not a knock on them. It's just more like we are shifting in such a quick time frame to acclimate to this that like we need to double check a little bit as well.
Right, right, absolutely.
Well, awesome. That is, Laura, I can't thank you enough for coming on and making the time with me and sharing my long game approach. Like, I love that, we're akin, we're sisters in that piece of how we want to run our business and how we treat the people we work with and approach our business. So, thank you so much for your time being here today.
My pleasure. I loved it. I love talking about Facebook ads.
Yeah. Awesome. And I'm going to put all of Laura's information in the show notes. You can reach her at lauraball.co and also find her on all of the major social media
Yeah.
platforms. She's there. All right, great.
Thanks for joining me today. You can access more info in the show notes at thelonggamepodcast.net. If today's show connected with you in some way, please share it with your friends or hop on iTunes and leave me a review. Until next time, keep playing the long game.